The following is a special presentation of Extreme eSpeed TV, your new home for everything iRacing and eSpeed.
Good evening, race fans, and welcome to Topside Tuesday in the Coast to Coast Racing League. It is, of course, opening week for our spring 2023 season, and this is Topside Tuesday presented by Cool Ray. We have our Pro Late Model Dirt Series here from the dirt track at Charlotte tonight. That will get us started here on the Tim Chapman Racing pre-race show. And joining me tonight here on Extreme eSpeed TV from Charlotte, I've got Dylan Perry joining us here. Dylan, you raced here at the dirt track at Charlotte not that long ago with the Cool Ray Pro Late Model Dirt Series. What should we expect through the night here tonight on this dirt track?
I mean, right off the bat, I think it's going to be pretty racy here for through the first couple of heat races, and then it'll do kind of its normal Charlotte swing where it goes up to the cushion for a little bit. But I think it's going to get pretty good here later in the night by the time the feature rolls around, and I expect it to get pretty wide by the end of it.
So looking out there right now, that's Tyler Benfield. He's out on the track getting some laps in. Looks like we've got about 15 cars entered here as of right now. We've got a couple minutes till that call. As you see, Brandon Templeton's on the list, Andy Piercefield, Logan Wentz, Pat Boyce, along with a couple of the Gambler Motorsports guys here, as well as our 2023 spring season gets underway. Here for the Pro Late Model Dirt Series, we are coming from the dirt track at Charlotte as this gets us going. Of course, throughout the year, we'll have our Sim Racer Hub standings update. Of course, nothing as of now. Everyone coming into tonight here even as we kick off the season. But an exciting spring season it should be at that, as we see some other cars getting out there on the track. And looking out here, you got cars moving all over the track, as you mentioned, Dylan. Do you think there'll be a preferred line here as we get closer to the end of that 30-lap feature and where you'll really want your car to be able to work?
I think it's just going to come down to a driver's preference. It's kind of like at the end of the year last year whenever we ran Charlotte, where Austin McGlone was running the top and I stayed around the bottom for most of the race, and they evened out. So it's going to kind of just come down to wherever you're comfortable at and can be the most consistent at, and that's when it gets later in the race, that's where you need to be and just try to put down the best laps you can to try to seal the deal.
Looking at these hot lap times, one car that's fast out there, Dylan, that 175 of Andy Piercefield, currently third fastest. He's up there towards the top. You can see him trying to chase down that 41 of Pat Boyce. He's working that high line and looking fast here to get off our Tuesday night.
Oh, yeah, for sure. He's put in a lot of work here in this off season to get some speed and get a little more consistent through the, and it's definitely paying off for him. And I'm glad to see him start moving up towards the top. I know me and him tend to be the same, like to stay around the infield tires, but I'm glad to see him getting comfortable moving around.
As you see, he completes his lap. Tyler Benfield's still out there. Tyler's made almost 80 laps here in hot laps. Everyone else really between 35 and 55 laps completed here during this session, as the session should be coming to a close here shortly as we kick off our spring season here on the Coast to Coast Racing League Network. So taking a look at what we have coming up this spring. Of course, last night it all kicked off as we had Monday Night Madness presented by Oswego Speedway. Had the Raiders, the Rebels, and the Renegades out on the track. Make sure you tune in tomorrow. It's Hometown Heroes presented by Flatline Racing Bodies. Got a bunch of sprint cars and Cars Tour there for Wednesday night this spring. And then Thursday Night Thunder presented by Gambler Motorsports will conclude the week of racing, week number 1, with some modifieds here on the Coast to Coast Racing Network. But we're going to head right into heat races here, Dylan, as we have heat race number 1 this spring. That heat race is going to be presented by Flatline Racing Bodies. And your starting lineup is going to look like this. Row number 1, it's Terry Landis next to Dakota Proud. Row number 2, Steven Spies next to Patrick Spangler. Jeff Sharp and Neil Strasser will round out our 6-car field. Steven Spies is one of the Gambler Motorsports cars, and you race with him quite often, Dylan. He's somebody that really tends to stick to that inside line. When you come to a track that outside line opens and you have a preference as a driver, how do you kind of work in there what the track gives you and what you prefer to be doing?
That's one of those, it's always a gamble whether, kind of throwing in the Gambler Motorsports, but it's always kind of a toss-up whether you go with your gut instinct and do what you know you can, or kind of test the waters and do what the track wants you to do. It's one of those that could be a win-win or a lose-lose, but I think he's going to be pretty happy with the inside for a couple laps and see kind of where the top is and how much speed it has up there.
So we will get ready to go green here as we'll take a look from up above. Of course, that is presented by Young Gun Creations all spring long, our drone shot here. Tonight at Charlotte is the Stephen King Foundation pace truck pulls on into the infield. It's Landis and Proud, row number 1, taking us to green 6 laps here in Flatline Racing Body's heat race number 1. The green flag will wave, and we are racing side by side into turn number 1. You can see there's guys to the inside, guys up to the outside, as it looks like that inside line is the advantage through 1 and 2, Dylan.
Yeah, that's kind of where I figured, where it looked like it would be here kind of early on, but it looks like they're fixing to start fanning out and trying the top and bottom, and we'll see if the top can get any momentum roll up.
Looks like that 19 of Proud trying to make that middle line work through 1 and 2. He'll move up to the outside in 3 and 4 as it's Spees out front. Spangler's moved into that second spot as it's a 3-way battle back there for third.
Yeah, they definitely are trying to take up the whole racetrack right there for third, and I think this one's going to be a good one.
So that is Landis and Sharp now battling for that third spot as that 19 of Proud watches on from the 5th position. Out front, Spees still has it. He's using that inside line. As we mentioned, that's where he tends to be, as it's Spangler trying to chase him down, not making up ground yet as there's 2 laps to go.
Steven always gets pretty consistent around the bottom, and anytime I've talked to him, that's usually where he likes to be, and he's definitely showing that's where he wants to be.
And he has stretched that lead out as the white flag will wave. The front 3 all down around that inside, as it's going to be Steven Spees the final lap around Charlotte. Spangler trying to chase him down. It will not be enough, as through 3 and 4 our Flatline Racing Body heat race number 1. We'll go to that 55 of Steven Spees. And one down quickly here at Charlotte as we'll get lined up for that second heat race. Heat race number 2 this spring, presented by Langton Mechanical. Starting lineup's going to look like this. Row number 1, Tyler Benfield next to Cole Livingston. Cody Graham alongside Logan Wentz. Brandon Templeton 5th alongside Andy Piercefield. When you come into a series, Dylan, like this tonight, and it's a draw, especially for the heat races, what can that kind of do? How can that help you? How can that set you back, depending on what number you draw for that heat race?
There's times that I enjoy it just because it gives me a chance to race with some guys, and there's also times that you draw up front and it's a one-lane track and you are glad that you were able to draw a pole. So I think it's like a double-edged sword. Sometimes you got to take the good with the bad whenever you draw for heat race spots. So I enjoy it whenever I've been able to do it. So I always look forward to whenever we race like that. It just gives me a chance to just race and have fun.
And that's coming from the all-time win leader in the Coolray Pro Late Model Dirt Series. So the challenge of having to come up through the field, which doesn't happen that often in that series, is where that's coming from, Dylan. I just want to preface that for the audience.
Yeah, and like I had to do it at Eldora after getting into a wreck pretty early for that 100-lap race, and that was a challenge, especially with those guys. So, but I enjoyed every minute of it. It's always fun.
So heat race number 2 here, presented by Langton Mechanical, is going to get underway. It's Benfield and Livingston. Row number 1, green flag wave, 6 laps here around the dirt track at Charlotte. Similar to heat race number 1, that inside line has the advantage, as that 08 of Graham's going to move up into that second position.
They are racing hard for that third spot, and I couldn't tell you who's going where because it looks like they're all going everywhere.
Looks like that 18 of Wentz, up into the wall here. There, he was trying to make that middle line work through 1 and 2. Did not pay off there, as really this one's all around the bottom throughout the field. As I say that 31 of Templeton will move to the outside as he's trying to get something working, and he will take over that second spot going into 3.
Yeah, I think that bottom, it's still pretty good right now, but that top's going to start coming in a little bit more here in this heat race, and definitely in that last one is whenever it'll kind of show that it's getting more speed.
It still looks like it's Templeton up to the outside trying to make that work as he still works around Benefield there as they battle for the lead. 2 laps to go as it's Templeton to the outside, Benefield to the inside as they've pulled away from the 3rd place car of Livingston by quite a bit. Templeton will take the white flag and he's got the advantage going into 1.
I guess he's proven me wrong. I just thought that top was going to take a little bit longer to come in, but he's definitely showing that it's in and it's time to play ball and try to knock the boards down.
So Templeton will use that outside line to the lead and to the win here in heat race number 2. Benefield 2nd, Livingston 3rd, Wentz 4th, Piercefield and Graham will round out your field. And we will move on to our 3rd heat race. 3rd heat race presented by Venom Racing this spring. Starting lineup will look like this. It's Jeffrey Kemper alongside Andrew Smith. Randy Shreves, row number 2 alongside Tater Williams. Pat Boyce 5th and Jonathan Krupa in 6th. So we will get lined up here. Another driver you've had quite a run and experience with is that 182 of Tater Williams. He'll start row number 2 here on the outside. He should be a fun one to watch, try to move up through the field.
Oh yeah, for sure. And since the top's coming in, that's usually where he runs pretty good at. And he's starting to get more comfortable on the bottom, but he's tough to beat up top. So I'll be looking forward to seeing kind of what he does and how he's able to maneuver around against this pretty good field of cars.
He'll have Randy Shreves to his inside. Of course, that 56 always solid in whatever he's racing here in the Coast to Coast Racing League. And then you've got Jeffrey Kemper of Gambler Motorsports up there on the pole.
This is definitely going to be a good heat race to watch. I feel like it's about to get really racy really quick.
When we saw that outside line, Templeton raced it to the win there. So it'll be interesting to see if that inside line has that advantage here early, or if someone jumps to the outside quickly, they'll be able to use it to move to the front. As that Stephen King Foundation pace truck moves on to the infield, we will find out here shortly 6 more laps in our heat race number 3 presented by Venom Racing. Smith and Kemper down towards the flag man. Green flag will wave and we are back under action here at the dirt track at Charlotte. Kemper will take that lead with that inside line. You can see Williams back there trying to use that outside line to move up. As it's going to be Randy Shreves, and now Tater Williams will clear Smith as he tries to track down that 56 of Shreves.
Yeah, he's starting to get up on the cushion, and this is where you're going to see where he falls into a rhythm and can get comfortable, and now we're going to have a race for 2nd on our hands.
So you've got Tater Williams there in 3rd. He's to the outside. You have Kemper and Shreves both to the inside. We'll see what Shreves does once Tater Williams is able to clear him there. As now Kemper still on that inside line. It's Tater Williams back 0.6 of a second trying to chase him down as he'll move down to that inside through 3 and 4.
He's got his sights set, and we'll see if he can pull this one out. But right now, Kemper's setting a pretty good pace, so he's going to have his work cut out to try to track him back down.
And 6 laps go by quickly here at Charlotte as we're already down to 2 laps to go. Tater Williams has cut into that lead as it's down to 0.3 of a second. Kemper will move up to the outside in 1 and 2, but that allows Williams to close up that gap as they will be racing to the white flag here at Charlotte.
This is where it's going to start heating up a whole lot, because I'd say there's a good chance that we're going to either have a big slider heading into 3 or something.
Williams tried to move to the inside. Kemper went down there as well. They'll be side by side coming out of turn number 4. At the line, it's Tater Williams.
I'm glad you were able to call that one. There was no way I was going to be able to do that.
I have Kemper at the line. From my vantage point, it looked like Williams. That's how close it was, as it looks like Kemper will get the win there, Dylan. But what a battle coming out of 4.
For sure. And when I pulled it up, it says that they basically tied. The difference between them was .000.
So a heck of a way to finish there. We'll move on to our race intermission by Oswego Speedway as cars will make their way out onto the track, get some laps in here. before this 30-lap feature event. So we watched the heat races. That outside line obviously came in, especially there late. With 30 laps now after this session, what do you expect the track to be like for these drivers?
I think it's going to get pretty wide, and about halfway through, I see it just kind of being a little bit of almost through the middle in the slick and try to momentum through 3 and 4, and then 1 and 2 is going to just be where you can be the smoothest at, whether it's be nice and easy around the wall or kind of through the middle and try to hit some of that traction coming off.
So watching our intermission here, it's Brandon Templeton to the top of the charts here early. Steven Spees second. So Spees was one of our winners there during the heat races. As we've had 12 drivers out on the track, 13 now, as we've got 18 total here in our feature event. Of course, this is our Pro Late Model Dirt Series. So this spring, our Cool Ray Pro Late Model Dirt Series here at Charlotte tonight. Shout out to Race Control. That will be Jeff Barker tonight. And so far, a nice evening of racing here to get us started, Dylan. After watching the heat races, was there anyone out there that kind of jumped out at you that you'd put towards the top of the list that could win this 30-lap feature tonight?
Right now, the 3 guys that if I had to put some money on it, the 3 guys that any of the 3 that I'd pick, they're starting 1, 2, 3. So I think this is going to be a pretty good race, and it's going to come down to who can be consistent throughout the whole race and just keep the car out of the fence and keep it in one piece.
So 15 seconds left here in our Oswego Speedway intermission. As we had 14 drivers take out on the track, the 2 drivers that gave us that finish there in that 3rd and final heat race, neither one of them came out on the track, so they're feeling good with where they're at. As Jeff Sharp pulls on in, Randy Shreve's out there trying to get the rest of what he can. And with that, that session will come to a close, and we will get ready for our 30-lap feature event here from Charlotte, as it's week number 1 of our 2023 spring season. They're getting lined up there on the front stretch, and your starting lineup presented by the Super Dirt Car Series is going to look like this. Row number 1, it is Steven Spees alongside Brandon Templeton. Starting third, it's Tater Williams next to Patrick Spangler. Tyler Benefield next to Jeffrey Kemper, row number 3. Jeff Sharp at 7th alongside Cole Livingston. 9th, Randy Shreves alongside Terry Landis. And 11th, it's going to be Logan Wentz alongside Pat Boyce. Starting 13th, it'll be Dakota Proud next to Andy Piercefield. 15th, Andrew Smith alongside Neil Strasser. And rounding out our field, it's Cody Graham and Jonathan Krupa. So as you mentioned, Dylan, the front of this field is where some of our heavy hitters are. Guys that ran up front that entire heat race and series of heat races. Do you feel like, so Spees was a driver that stuck to the inside in the early heats. The guys that had to go up top later, does that play any advantage for them going into this feature?
I think it can, especially with having a lighter heat, because you were on the track more recent, so you kind of have an idea on where it's moving around at and what it feels like. And whenever you have those early heats, you're just sitting and waiting, and the track's burning off, and you can see what it's doing, but you don't really get the feel for it until basically the first lap of the race, and you hope you can hit it right, or those guys will be all over you and hoping to get by you.
Well, our 60-lap feature, I kept saying 30, I'm still back in winter season. 60-lap feature here at Charlotte about to get underway. Spees Templeton, row number 1, will get us started here for our feature event. As they come out of turn number 4, Flagman will wave that green flag. We're back to racing action here at Charlotte. Ooh, Tater Williams aggressive on that inside here early as he tries to move to the inside of Kemper.
Yeah, it looks like he got down in there just a little bit harder than Steven did, and he picked up a shove, and that got them probably a whole lot closer than they wanted to be.
So he'll settle down on the inside. The two drivers up front, that's Templeton and Spangler, they're both using that outside line here early. Behind him, he's got Benefield and Kemper side by side, as now it's Steven Spies trying to get back up there as he's rebounded and settled in that 6th position.
Yeah, right now you see the first 4, they're all staying pretty much around the top, and once you get past about 4th on the 5th, 6th, and the gaggle of cars behind them, they're all 2 by 2 just racing hard.
3 wide there with Benefield, the 55 of Spies, and that 16 of Livingston as they entered 1 and 2. Benefield will get into that wall going into turn number 3. It won't slow down his momentum, though, as he's to the outside of Spies. Looking down through the field, Dakota Proud's up a couple positions. Terry Landis up a couple as well. Cody Graham now up to that 14th spot. As up front, it's Brandon Templeton all the way up against that wall, all the way around the track. And he's started to pull away slightly from Tater Williams, almost a second lead, as Tater Williams now trying to chase him down.
Yeah, and especially with this race being 60 laps, I'd say those 2 guys, they're not going to push the issue as hard and try to run as fast as they possibly can, because they want to keep their car in one piece. And because it doesn't pay the same leading lap 5 or lap 10 as it does leading the last one. So they're going to try to keep it in one piece and make it to the end before they push as hard as they can.
Kemper and Spangler, they're side by side. That's the battle we're watching now. That's a battle for 3rd. Also a battle right behind him between Benefield and Spies. Benefield into that wall again in turn number 3. Having some issues there on entry of turn number 3 for that 224.
Yeah, and that wall heading into 3, it almost jumps out at you sometimes. You can think you're about a 2 or 3 car width away, and next thing you know, you're hitting it, and the right front's trying to carry over into it. So it's really easy to hit it right there.
So he and Spies both trying to chase down Spangler in 4th, as Spies continues to work that outside line as well. Kemper up ahead has also. The leaders still out front, as they have pulled away quite a bit, as Williams has chased down Templeton. Just over 0.3 of a second lead for Templeton, but they have checked out on the rest of this field. Side-by-side action still for 4th on back, as Benefield into that turn 3 wall again. And really, Dylan, it looks like we're pretty split throughout the field of number of drivers on that outside line versus the ones that are sticking down there by the tires.
I think it'll be interesting to see kind of where everybody ends up running at the end of the race, because right now they're just about everywhere.
Yeah, Templeton and Williams, they've stuck to that outside line. They're actually chasing down the back of the field here currently. Some cleanup work. Neil Strasser, Jonathan Krupa did not start, so they did not grid for this one. So we've got 16 cars out here as we work lap number 16 at the dirt track at Charlotte. As you have to go back to Spies and Kemper, that's a battle for 3rd as they keep trading that back and forth. Spies still on the inside. And he'll slide up right in front of Benefield. Now Benefield crosses him over. They'll make contact through 3 and 4 as that'll force Spies to the outside. And Benefield will take the position. And now Spies into him.
Contact.
So saw that one coming. That was about a lap in the making there, Dylan, as they first made contact while they were battling somebody else. And now it seems like they can't get away from each other.
Yeah, and there's just times that it feels like there's a magnet between 2 cars. No matter what you do, you'll almost inevitably rub them again after the first time.
So a couple hard hits of contact there. Almost amazing that there wasn't a caution. Spies was sideways at one point. Benefield was sideways at one point. So now Speed's all over the back of the 16 of Livingston. He's back in that 7th spot. And after how fast his car's been all night, as there's contact behind him, Livingston will go around. And our first caution of the night will come out.
That was one of those, I don't remember who said it first, but I've always heard, we've been wrecking for 5 laps, but no caution ever came out.
And it really was. And I was going to get to it. Spees was back there. You could tell that he didn't want to be back there, didn't feel like he deserved to be back there. When you make contact and you're running up front, and then all of a sudden you look back and you've been shuffled back to the back half of the top 10, does it take a lot of thought process to try to recollect yourself and not try to overdrive it to get back up front?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, because it almost rattles you for a minute because you start out the night so good and you're in a good spot, and then just something unfortunate happens and you fall back some. So there's been times that some people can recover in a couple laps and get their head back straight and start picking cars off. And there's other times that it almost just messes up your whole race and you can't get past where you started and where you're at. So it's a tough thing to do. There's no really easy way to explain it, but I feel like this caution's going to help him get his head back straight and start moving back forward.
So we made it a third of the way, 20 laps into this 60-lap feature event. Templeton and Williams had really started to gain on the back of the field rather than be closer to that 3rd position. So this will bunch them back up. You got to think Kemper, Spangler, Spees, and Benefield are all excited about that. And now we've got 40 laps to go here. We'll get lined back up, pack them back together, and see who has the car to be able to drive up to the front and challenge one of those front 2. As the green flag comes out, trouble back in the field, they'll get going straight. As Templeton will take the lead into turn number 1, Williams is quick to cross him over onto the inside as it's Spangler into 3rd on that outside line.
It looks like Tater's trying to get that inside line back working again, but I don't think it's to the point where it's going to be good yet.
He is down there indeed as Spangler will drive around him on the outside down the backstretch. Big run for Spangler going into 3, even gaining on the Templeton machine out front, as it is still side by side with Kemper and Benefield for the 4th spot. Plenty of battles throughout on this latest Mission 22 restart.
I mean, I don't even know where to look there. You've got them almost trying to go 3 wide for the lead, and then they're double file almost through the whole entire field. So no matter where you look, there's a good race going on.
As it looks like Benefield has issues. He'll drop back to the 15th spot. Up front, they've gotten it sorted out. It's Templeton, Spangler, Williams, your top 3. 4th is now the Shreves machine. And then it's Wentz, Kemper, Spees all battling from 5th on back. Wentz, a good run for him. He's up 6 spots. Started outside the top 10, now into the 5th spot. Randy Shreves also up 5 spots. And then Andy Piercefield in that 10th position. We said he was fast in hot laps earlier tonight. He's up 4 spots, now into the top 10.
Yeah, as the tracks progress, he's gradually started picking them off once it's gotten to the point of just being slick, almost all the way top to bottom. So he's making a good solid push to the front.
So a group of lanes here. The front, as I say that, 3rd and 4th move down to the inside through 3 and 4, but through 1 and 2, the front 5 all to the outside. You have to go back to Kemper in 7th spot. He's the first one trying to try that inside line. As this 3-way battle up front started to break away again as Spangler's joined that party. Williams committed to that inside, Dylan. It hasn't came up yet, but he hasn't lost ground on those leaders as of yet either.
No, he's kind of just biding his time right now, or I say he is. That's what I would imagine. He's trying to buy some time on the bottom, wait for that top to slow down so that he's already there, and whenever that top slows down a little bit, he can kind of jump and see what happens.
So halfway this time by, it's still Templeton out front, Spangler 2nd, Williams 3rd, Wentz 4th, Spees back up into that 5th spot. As now Tater Williams has given up some ground there on the front too. Spees continues to battle. That's Shreves to his outside. Kemper also using that inside line. And looking where some of these guys are, you know, Spees, Kemper, they've been committed to that inside. Tater Williams was trying to make it work. He's jumped back out to the outside and gained back up on those front two. You've got to think if that inside line comes through, there's some guys here that will take advantage of that quickly.
Yeah, for sure. And the guys that have been going down there here pretty frequently during this race, they've got a feel for it. So whenever it's time to go down there and chase the track to the bottom, they're going to know what it feels like and be able to make that transition a little smoother.
So the front three, actually Wentz is now inched closer to Tater Williams. You've got to go back in the pack. It's still Spees that closest battle as he and Shreves continue to make work for that 5th position. Then you've got Pat Boyce. He's closing in on Jeff Sharp. And then there's a great battle currently with Terry Landis and Andy Piercefield. That's a battle for that 10th spot.
And like we had mentioned a minute ago under caution, I definitely think that yellow helped Steven kind of get his composure back and go back to trying to hit consistent laps. And as I say that, I think the 39 bobbled a little bit while Tater got around to his outside.
So Spangler, yeah, he's now into the inside now. Williams made it to his outside. See if Spangler stays down there. You can see the damage on the back of that 39 machine here as we've got 23 laps to go. He's now trying to fight off Wentz. Wentz has gotten up there now as he's trying to move into that 3rd spot. As really it's the front 6 have broken away here. Out front, it's still Brandon Templeton. He's got that 182 of Tater Williams trying to chase him down. As Templeton now moves to the inside. And we'll see if Tater's able to pop that bubble of Templeton and move into the lead here, Dylan.
It's looking like he's going to try to make a bid for it, but that cushion is just, it's almost like you got to tiptoe around it as he makes a move to the inside. But that cushion, it's just getting really tedious, and it's fast if you can hit it, but if you don't hit it right, you'll end up knocking the right side off of it and losing some speed.
And you can see it there, that momentum and speed around that outside still the advantage. Through 3 and 4, they both moved to the inside, and that's where it was pretty even through there. As it looks like when they're both to the outside, Tater Williams may have the faster car than that 31.
I see them, they're going to start throwing some sliders for a little bit, but that top has just got so much momentum that you can keep around there. It's kind of hard to pass on the bottom unless you just time it right.
So now Tater Williams down to that inside protected. Ooh, and it's Wentz into that outside wall right in front of Randy Shreves. Wentz will get into that outside wall down the front stretch. That'll move him back to the 5th spot. As Tater Williams is able to separate now from Templeton. Spees is rebounded. He's back in that 3rd spot, so he's patiently moved his way up. He clips that wall coming out of turn number 4 right now. Oh, and Shreves will get into him. And look at, they keep going. Another incident for Spees that keeps going straight.
I'll give him credit. I mean, it doesn't matter what happens to him. He's racing through it, and he's fighting for everything he's got, and I got to tip a hat to him.
So Logan Wentz, he's in that 5th spot. He's finally settled in now as he tries to work to the inside of Shreves. As he's gotten back into rhythm here. Up front, still Tater Williams, and now with him, he started to lead. Spees now, great run out of 2. He'll cross over to the inside of Templeton going into 3.
Within the past couple laps, Steven's found something, and it's definitely paying off speed-wise.
Well, and you can definitely see some of these guys. Oh, as same move next lap. Contact made that time. That opens the door for Randy Shreves. And it's almost too much momentum coming out of 2 that Spees having a hard time getting into 3 in a clean manner.
Yeah, it's just, especially when the track gets like this, you carry so much speed off the cushion down the back straightaway that if you miss it, you can miss the line by a foot, and that's the difference between either going and just hanging in the slick all the way through and losing all your momentum or hitting the wall. So you're kind of playing in a game of inches with a car that's, I don't even remember how wide it is.
Well, they've settled in now. Tater Williams still in the lead. He's got about 7/10 of a second lead over Steven Spies. Spies has had an eventful night as we're 50 laps in now. He's now cleared everybody except for the Williams machine, moved into that second spot. Wentz and Shreves continue to battle. That's a battle for third as they trade that back and forth. And we're now here in the final 9 laps. And if you're a second back like Steven Spies is, Tater Williams is starting to get into some lap traffic. What are you trying to do to try to chase down that leader?
Right now with how the track is, I'm trying to basically run the cushion as hard as I can, and if the decking's dragging by the time it's over with, and that's just what the track has. So it's one of those, if you're trying to make up ground, you got to go where the track wants you to go and push it as hard as you can and hope it's enough.
So Tater's using that inside line through 3 and 4. Spies actually makes up some ground there down the front stretch, and then once Tater rebounds and moves up the track in 1 and 2, it kind of steadies out. And as I say that, Spies is able to cut into that lead. It's now down under 4/10 of a second. Can you kind of talk to what Tater's trying to do as he's outside on 1 and 2 and then moving to that inside through 3 and 4?
Right now, I think he's trying to stay in the preferred line up around the top in 1 and 2, and in 3 and 4 he's with how I don't really know what the right word is, but where you have to just tiptoe around the cushion and the margin of error is pretty high. He's trying to minimize that and stay where he can find some speed at and just keep momentum built up.
So with 4 laps to go, Spies tried the inside through 1 and 2. He'll lose back some ground that he had made up. It's still a half a second lead for Tater Williams out front. You see the 16 machine of Livingston down on the infield grass. Spies trying to chase down. Great battle for Sharp between Sharp and Spangler. That's a battle for 6th as we watch the leaders. And what a run by Spies as he moves to the outside of Tater Williams going into 1.
Stevens definitely doing everything he can to get all the momentum off the top, and it's starting to pay off for him as he was able to get around Tater there on the front straightaway.
So Spies will lead with the white flag waving. They're side by side. Tater Williams going to try to see what he can do. He'll slide up. It won't be enough. He'll lose momentum to Spies, and Spies will make his way around 3 and 4. What a rebound it was as they slow down right at the start-finish line, and they will end up Spies, Williams, Kemper, Templeton, Spangler, your top 5.
That was definitely an eventful race, especially for Steven. If the bad luck, or not really bad luck, but most contact between cars, not even being his fault, he's definitely getting the award for that, because it just seemed like he was a metal ping pong ball for a little bit.
So incidences around for that 55 machine, as you mentioned, an exciting race to say the least for him, as Gambler Motorsports will take 2 of the 3 podium spots, sandwiching in there Tater Williams. And we will talk to our top 3 finishers here shortly as they get parked over there off of turn number 3 and 4. It was interesting, and you had talked about it prior to the race, Dylan, what the track was willing to do there. You had some opportunities to the inside, but really that outside line is where you wanted to be there at the end.
Yeah, I didn't really expect that cushion to stay in for as long as it did, but I mean, we're racing on dirt, so I was trying to take an educated guess, and I missed a little bit, but it definitely provided a pretty wide racing groove, and you were able to kind of move around for a good portion of it. But at the end of the night, that cushion showed why it wins races.
Well, with that, we'll take a view down in Coolray Victory Lane. Our third place finisher, the 181 of Jeffrey Kemper, Jeffrey, an eventful night. You started outside the top five, raced really in the top five all night long, and then there at the end came on late to grab a third place finish. Kind of walk us through your night there for 60 laps around Charlotte.
Well, it was an interesting one for sure. First started out and looked out in the field, heard a few people talking about maybe saving some, and saw that I was about 5 laps short of making it. And so I started out running pretty quick, and it was draining it real fast, so had to get down to the inside. Then there towards the end of it, I realized I still was about 3 laps shy of making it, so just really, really had to tune it down and maybe quarter throttle most of the way around the track there.
Well, it's a great start. We move on to a new season. Obviously, a podium finish is a great way to start. What kind of goals do you have set here for the Pro Late Model or the Pro Late Model Series here for the spring season?
Well, I'd like to definitely get a race win. I got second at least once last season, maybe twice. Kind of was up there close to the battling for the championship points. Not quite there, but I think it would be great if I was able to get a win and then at least, have a closer battle for that championship.
Well, a great start to your season. Good run there, Jeffrey. Any sponsors you want to give a shout out to tonight?
Yeah, I got to thank the team over at Gambler Motorsports. Great group to hang out with. Actually, I had Andy Piercefield down there from Cool Ray today. And it was fun hanging out with him. I got to thank him for everything he does for the league and for Gambler Motorsports. I got to thank Lynn Gear Company. Got family, friends, girlfriend, everyone else out there, everyone that puts us together, you, Travis, at Extreme E-Speed, and all the other broadcasters and sponsors.
Well, great run, Jeffrey. We look forward to watching you throughout the spring, and have a good rest of your evening.
Thank you, too, Travis.
That's Jeffrey Kemper from Gambler Motorsports bringing home a third place finish. Dylan, I'll throw it over to you in Cool Ray Victory Lane. You've got Steven Spees.
Steven, mentioned it earlier, but I was glad to see you be able to rebound back. So take me through your thought process from the first lap to the end of the race.
Is this the fabulous Dylan Perry? I didn't know I was going to get to talk to you tonight, Dylan.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, that first lap, I knew we were going to be short on fuel. Saw that, so with whatever happened there, so I knew we were going to have to save. So first lap, I was taking it easy and trying to keep it around the tires, and I'm very uncharacteristic there. I don't know if Tater just had a run or missed his angle a little bit and kind of got nudged out of the way, which I was hoping was going to still be okay, but it certainly made it a lot harder to manage my fuel load and keep up with folks, not knowing if we were going to have cautions or not. So, we all got back together whenever we had caution, but I think I was sitting around in 6th and just trying to run low enough to save some fuel, but running high to not let the leaders get too far out there, and just a little cat and mouse game there tonight. So sure, you guys noticed it, but I was sputtering pretty bad coming off before there, and I figured since Tater moved me at the beginning, I'd let him move me across the finish line so I could snake that win out still.
Yeah, we're kind of curious on what was happening right there at the end, but we heard a lot of guys mention that fuel was going to be scarce right there at the end of the race. I think a couple different people ran out of fuel, but glad to see that you were still able to make it across the line in first.
Yep, I had about 0.8 laps to go, and when Tater and I were right next to each other in the white flag, so I knew I was going to have to run high and try to get some speed up, but then tried to baby it through 3 and 4 and just didn't quite have enough. Like I said, it was dying coming off before there, so hopefully we're all good, and made for an interesting race, that's for sure. Different kind of strategy we don't normally have in these.
Yeah, no kidding. It's not many times that we have to calculate our fuel and try to save when we can, but congrats on the win. Who all do you have to thank for that performance?
Yep, just always have to say thanks to all the folks at Gambler. Only Kemper made the race with us tonight, but that's all right. We always have a good time, and thanks to all the people that tune in and watch us have fun in our pretend race cars. Most of us don't get to go have the fun in the real car like you do. So this is what we get, and we enjoy it, and glad people like it and watch us.
Well, I enjoy racing with y'all just as much as you enjoy racing with me.
Yep, thanks.
That is our winner here tonight in Cool Ray Victory Lane. It's Steven Spees for the Pro Late Model Series. Looks like we have a late arrival here. Our second place finisher, Tater Williams. Tater, walk us through your night there. You led some laps, but they're late on. Steven Speeds was able to catch something there to chase you down.
Yeah, the race was pretty good. I made a bonehead move on the first lap and moved Steven out of the way unintentionally, but we'll talk about it. I apologize to him. Yeah, the fuel pressure light kept coming over there last probably 5 or 10 laps, and I was just trying around the bottom because I didn't know if the car was running out of fuel or what, but I don't know. It was an up and down night. If I think we had one of the faster cars, if that wouldn't have happened.
So you had we were watching you through there. You were running the high line through 1 and 2, moved to the inside there through 3 and 4. Seemed like that's where Speeds was able to chase you down. Was that something that you wanted to do? The car was doing, the track was really forcing. Kind of walk us through that decision making there at the end.
The track was faster on the high side the entire way, but car just didn't want to do it. It kept running out of fuel getting into the straightaway or at the end of the straightaway. So I don't know. We'll have to go over it and check and see if it was just a problem of we didn't put enough fuel in, or it was something to do with the carburetor. But we'll see, and we'll be back better next time.
Well, congratulations on a good run. A second place finish for you tonight. Dylan, your buddy up here, and I had a great time watching you. Any sponsors you want to give a shout out to here for your second place finish?
I got to give a huge shout out to Andy Piercefield for all he does for me. All the guys at CBR, Perry McGlone, Combs Cuts, B&B Custom Baits, Bluegrass Motorsports Media, KMJ Graphics, and just all the guys that help me week in and week out.
Well, great run, Tater. We had fun watching you here tonight and look forward to seeing you back on the dirt track here soon.
Thank you, guys.
That is our second place finisher, Tater Williams, as we will move on to our Lucy Olson and Salty Dogs Racing NASCAR Truck Series. They'll be coming live from Atlanta here shortly. They have a 50-lap race here, concluding our Topside Tuesday, week number 1 of the 23 spring season. For the Pro Late Model Series here, presented by Cool Ray, I am Travis Piercefield, joined by Dylan tonight. Thanks for joining us here for the dirt racing here, Dylan. Anything you have to say or any takeaways here as we move on to the asphalt racing?
I've definitely got to give you and Adam a bunch of credit. Y'all make this look a whole lot easier than it is, but I'm glad you let me join you tonight, and I had a blast being able to look at the races through a different point of view.
Well, thanks to Dylan for joining us. He is, of course, the 2022 Cool Ray Pro Late Model Dirt Series champion. You can catch that here on Extreme eSpeed TV tomorrow night as their season continues. Racing there on Extreme eSpeed TV starts at 8 p.m. Eastern. But here on the Coast to Coast Racing League Network, as mentioned, we'll move on to that Lucy Olson Salty Dogs Racing Team NASCAR Truck Series from Atlanta after this quick commercial break. You're watching the Coast to Coast Racing League Network.
Before they go fast and start to power slide, we salute you with the big blocks 4 wide, the ground-pounding, earth-shaking, window-rattling beast of the Northeast. It's the Big Block Modified Super Dirt Car Series.
Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to our weekly race chat.
Adam Ross and Clinton Jeffrey are live and interactive every Tuesday night. Rivals Race Chat is your home for race discussion, debate, news, interviews, and more. They'll even take your questions and comments live on the air and talk to some of the newsmakers each week. Tune in every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. on GeForce TV.
Before they go fast and start to power slide, we salute you with the big blocks 4 wide. The crowd pounding, earth shaking, window rattling beast of the Northeast. It's the big block modified Super Dirt Car Series.
Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to our weekly race chat.
Adam Ross and Clinton Jeffrey are live and interactive every Tuesday night. Rivals Race Chat is your home for race discussion, debate, news, interviews, and more. They'll even take your questions and comments live on the air and talk to some of the newsmakers each week. Tune in every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. on GeForce TV.
Olsen, she has her first point.
Yeah, Lucy Olsen, talented sophomore.
Welcome back to the Coast to Coast Racing League Network. We are at Atlanta Motor Speedway here for the Lucy Olsen Salty Dogs Racing Team NASCAR Truck Series as our Topside Tuesday continues on here. Of course, we just watched the Pro Late Model Series presented by Cool Ray as our Cool Ray Topside Tuesday marches on. Tonight, Zach Chapman will be race control here as we have our practice session here about to wrap up qualifying and then our feature event here for the Truck Series. Of course, here at the new Atlanta Motor Speedway, which is where they will be this weekend, as our practice session will come to an end and we'll move on to that qualifying session. As drivers make their way out onto that track. Of course, the new Atlanta Motor Speedway in its second year of racing in its current configuration, now into a super speedway. One thing not here on iRacing that they made a change for this weekend is they will enter the pit road now before they get to turn number 3. So interesting move there. As Roger Craig will take the green flag. We'll look at those best times here throughout qualifying session. Mike Kramer out there as well tonight. Jeff Fitzpatrick. A full field here. Should be a lot of excitement throughout the field all night long. Donovan Ross out there in his 5 machine making his timed lap. I had the benefit of actually taking a ride around Atlanta Motor Speedway last summer. And one thing that you don't realize from this angle or on TV is just how narrow it is. And also, there at the exit of turn number 4, the amount of drop in the track there as you move from the banking of the corner down onto that tri-oval. Doyle Lawrence, fastest time here early. Oh, and now more comes in. It's going to be Robert Lynch to the top of the charts. 32.45. Nick Schell right behind him. Mike Kramer up there into third. Gary Singlecow, 4th fastest, now 5th fastest in his 25 machine. As now laps coming in fast, and Cody Graham will jump to the top of the charts in his Ford 08. As Robert Lynch will improve his second lap, move back up into the 2nd spot. There's one of the salty dogs, Joe Canellis, out there on the track, completing another lap. Plenty of Salty Dogs racing team members out there tonight here on this Atlanta Motor Speedway, including Steven Bixler. As he'll complete his lap, Paul Buchanan looking to complete his 2nd lap. As it's still Cody Graham, Robert Lynch, Peter Thompson, Nick Schell, Mike Kramer, your top 5. As they continue to make their way around. Peter Thompson completes his laps. Chris Schaefer out there. Looks like he's going to be the last one to try to make a lap, as 23 have made timed laps. 7 have not, so a 30-car field here tonight at Atlanta. Schaefer will jump up into the 6th fastest spot, a 32.43. But it's still Graham atop the charts. And with less than a minute to go, he should end up there with quick time. That 08 of Cody Graham. Robert Lynch, Peter Thompson, Nick Schell, Mike Kramer will round out your top 5. As we get ready for feature racing action here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Of course, in Hampton, Georgia. Built back in the 60s. Was originally flipped. That was the start finish line there on the back stretch. And of course, no dogleg where it currently is now, which was the back stretch. And plenty of NASCAR history here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Of course, Richard Petty's last race, Jeff Gordon's first race. Championships were crowned here for many a years. And now it's turned into one of the new age super speedways, which we are ready and set to take on here tonight. So the drivers will get lined up, and we will give you that Super Dirt Cars Series starting lineup. Starting on the pole, it's going to be Cody Graham, 32.327, alongside Robert Lynch Jr. Row number 2, it's Peter Thompson next to Nick Schell. Starting 5th, it's Mike Kramer alongside Chris Schaefer. 7th, Steven Bixler next to Craig Lavin. 9th, Jonathan Krupa alongside Paul Buchanan. Starting 11th, it's Joe Canellis next to Dominic Galanti. Starting 13th, Gary Singlecow next to John Reiner Jr. Trent Verstraeten alongside Doyle Lawrence. 17th is Billy Richardson alongside Jim Bowie. And rounding out your top 20, it's Roger Craig and Donovan Ross. 21st, Greg Parmalee along next to Greg Offit. 23rd, Jeff Fitzpatrick next to Zach Chapman. 25th, it's Brad Wetzel alongside Sean Grace. So 27th, Kyle Moonen alongside Brendan Lacey. 29th, Chad Cote next to Stephen Goldner. That is how they will line up here at Atlanta Motor Speedway, as it's our Lucy Olson Salty Dogs Racing Team NASCAR Truck Series. Getting us started and underway as they get lined up behind that Stephen King Foundation. Hey Cody, it's Travis up in the booth. Got a copy?
Yep.
So a good lap there in qualifying has you starting on the pole. What's it going to take to make it through this race here tonight and come away with a victory?
I'm not quite sure. Probably staying above that red line and hope no one goes below it and comes up and wipes everyone out.
Hey, so with this track being newer, with the new configuration, how much time do you have on this Super Speedway Atlanta?
Not at all. I did one official earlier today and made it 4 laps, so.
Well, good luck, Cody. You're going to take us to green, and hopefully we'll talk to you later.
All right, thank you.
That is Cody Graham. He will be your pole sitter here tonight, as he will get us started alongside Robert Lynch Jr. So 60 laps around this Atlanta Motor Speedway. We'll see how it goes. As mentioned, at least for Cody, not a lot of experience here on this track. We'll see who throughout the field will rise to the top and take on this challenging configuration of Atlanta Motor Speedway. Green flag will wave, and we are underway here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. 60 laps will make up our feature event here, as it is the Lucy Olson Salty Dogs Racing Team NASCAR Truck Series. They are clean through turns 3 and 4 for our first time around. They will make it there as that outside line starting to group up together, especially up front. Plenty of movement back through the field, and our first caution flag of the night will wave. And not exactly sure look like Jim Bowie may have had an issue there. We'll take a look and see if we can bring up that replay. Oh, and there it is. Big wreck right on the front stretch. As Bowie was involved, we'll see if Gary Offit, he was involved as well. That's late in the incident. So we'll get the truck working on those instant replays, as it appears not a good camera angle here of this one. As we will look and see if this gives us the angle we want. As we'll watch that Gary Offit machine down the back stretch. Of course, the incident will happen on the front stretch. And there we saw Jim Bowie and Brennan Lacey appeared to make contact to bring out our first caution of the night. So we will get prepared here. Lights are still on that Stephen King Foundation pace car. Robert Lynch Jr., good start for him. He's out front. Looking throughout the field here. Doyle Lawrence was able to move up through the field there quickly. See if the lights will go off. The Stephen King Foundation pace car this time by. They will. That means Lynch Jr. will take us back to green this next time by. They'll get lined up, double file. So our first Mission 22 restart of the night. Here in the Lucy Olson Salty Dogs Racing Team NASCAR Truck Series. Week number 1 of the 23 spring season here. Of course, happy to have you joining us tonight. We had a great dirt late model race to get our night started here on Topside Tuesday. So 2x2 throughout the field. Of course, Zach Chapman is our race control tonight, so shout out to him. We're 4 laps down. We'll be 5 laps down once we go back to green of this 60 lap event. They make their way through 3 and 4. They'll enter that Mission 22 restart zone, taking us back to green here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. The 121 of Robert Lynch is the leader here early. See the 58 machine of Nick Shell to his outside, as he'll work quickly to get down behind that leader. As we'll see if we can get a green flag run here. As it's got that 23 machine, that's Chris Schaefer trying to move out to the outside. He has help behind him, as there's now 2 lines up front, as Chris Schaefer now moving to the outside of the leader by the time they exit turn number 4. So working lap number 7 here at Atlanta. It's still Lynch out front. Schaefer second, Shell third, Levin fourth, Graham fifth. As they're coming up to a tail end of the lead car up ahead of them. Side by side now. Working lap number 8, that is the 058 of Jim Bowie. He'll move to the inside. Caution flag will wave. As it looks like Trent Verstraeten may be having some issues. So we'll try to bring up a replay of that. Oh, into that outside wall. Stephen Bixler collected in that as well. Bixler hard into that inside wall. And with that, we'll have our second caution of the night here in the Truck Series, presented by Lucy Olson and the Salty Dogs race team. So they will cycle through. We'll bring up our leader here shortly, as there's some action on pit road. So Lynch will continue to lead. We'll cross the 10-lap mark here as they make their way around. Pit road should be open this time by. See if there's any takers here. Here early in this one. 60 laps will make up this feature event. As you see, Inferno Motorsports makes up the front 4. We'll see if we can grab one of them here in a second once they clear that pit road entrance. Hey Robert, it's Travis in the booth. Got a copy?
I do.
So a good start for you here early. At least you're up front where it should be safe. But a good run here for your Inferno Motorsports teammates as you guys are running up front here. Was that part of the plan, or kind of what was the preparation coming into this race here at Atlanta?
I kind of worked out. Chris Schaefer there. That's his. This is his team, and he asked me to if I wanted to partner up with him, and then I guess we got Nicholas and Craig involved. And so, but we were talking, and in practice, we were talking about working together, and then we qualified all high, so it kind of worked out. So we'll see what goes.
Well, we're about to go back to green here. Good luck, and we'll see if we can talk to you later in the night.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you.
That is our current leader. It's Robert Lynch Jr., Inferno Motorsports, as he mentioned, 1 through 4 here early in this one at Atlanta. So working lap 11 will be a dozen laps in by the time the green flag waves as they make their way around. As we've had 2 cautions here early. See what we can do to take this one back to green. Of course, all our restarts presented by Mission 22. So Mission 22 restart. We're back to racing here at Atlanta. It's Lynch, Schaefer, Shell, and Levin, the Inferno Motorsports team, the front 4 here early. Graham, our pole sitter, has fallen back to the 5th position. As the front 5 will get sorted out, Chris Schaefer still the lone driver out there to the outside. See if he makes his way down. As they go back to green, looking back in the field, big gaggle of cars back there. That's Sean Grayson, the 27th on back. You see Roger Craig in his 747, the 11 of Chad Cote. Plenty of movement back there. Oh, and it looks like Lacey will go around. Lacey caught up there. We'll take a look at that replay. Our 3rd caution of the night. Sigelkow was a part of that one as well. As our 3rd caution of the night gets underway, or gets us woed down, as we had just gotten back underway. It's still Robert Lynch Jr. out front. as they will pull up behind that Stephen King Foundation pace car. Schaefer was able to fall back in line in that second spot. So with that, we'll get line back up. We'll see if we can chat with another member of the Inferno Motorsports team, as they've been up front all night long. Hey Chris, it's Travis in the booth. Got a copy?
Got a copy, Travis.
So we talked to Robert last caution. You've got all 4 Inferno Motorsports cars up front there, just the way you guys planned it out for the evening, right?
Sure. We'd like to say we planned it out that way.
So watching here, some cautions here early. What's it going to take here at Atlanta on this configuration to pull into victory lane at the end of the night?
Just staying out of trouble and having a good pit stop when it comes time, and a timely pit stop too. You know, if we get out of pit sequence and somebody lands on a good one, it could put us on the other side. So we got to have a timely one.
With this being, you know, the new age super speedway here, how does it kind of sort out with the drafting, the line choice? How does this compare to, say, you know, the typical Daytona Talladega?
Honestly, I don't think this drives like Daytona or Talladega. Yeah, there's a pack, but you can't suck up like you can at those other tracks, and the outside doesn't generate as much momentum as like Daytona or Talladega.
Well, it's been fun here early as you guys get ready to go back to green. Good luck the rest of the way, and maybe we'll talk to you at the end of the night.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it. Thank you.
That is Christopher Schaefer. He is from the Inferno Motorsports team. Obviously a good start to their night as they run first through fourth still here. We are wrapping up our third caution, working lap number 16 of 60. So our Lucy Olson Salty Dogs Racing Team NASCAR Truck Series kicking off their 2023 spring season here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Of course, that is a home race for me. Also, where the NASCAR Cup Series, Xfinity Series, and Truck Series will be this weekend. So it's going to be Lynch still taking us back to green. Schaefer restarting on that outside line as he has earlier throughout the night. Of course, all our green flags this spring season presented by Lucy Olson. And all our restarts, as usual, presented by Mission 22. Green flag waves, another Mission 22 restart here at Atlanta. Lynch will pull out front, see if Schaefer jumps down into that second spot on that inside. You see that 04 machine of Thompson back there in 6th. He's quick to get down the track. We'll take a look at from our Young Gun Creations drone. As they make their way around, Schaefer falling in line with Lynch here early. Chris Schaefer started 6th. Levan started 8th, so they were quick to move up. Another one of our movers is that number 3 Doyle Lawrence machine. He's up 10 spots into 6th, so a good start for him here early. At least here through 18 laps, he's our hard charger as they make their way around. And you can see just how much the cars are moving here, especially off turn number 4. That really narrows up. That's been a problem spot for us here tonight. It's brought out a couple of our cautions. And now up front, there's two solid lines of 3 cars each, side by side, through 1 and 2, as now lanes behind them start to form as well. So that pack racing starting to come in play here early is tightly contested. Schaefer leads that outside line. It's Lynch leading that inside line through 3 and 4. That 610 of Levan just does not look comfortable coming off of turn number 4 as he's got that 58 of Nick Schell, his teammate, behind him. It's 3 Inferno Motorsports cars to the inside. Their 4th teammate leads that outside pack as now we've got 1/3 of the race complete this time by as they work lap number 20. As the front 9 are all packed together here. Donovan Ross is in that 9th spot. He's up 11 spots. That 30 machine on that outside line, that's Steven Goldner. He's up 23 spots from the start of this, up to the 7th position. He's someone that last winter we saw win in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. So a good start for him here at Atlanta as we make our longest green flag run of the night. And side-by-side action, now that group of about 9 guys have now ballooned into a pack of about 21, the entire field. As they make their way down the backstretch, you can see side-by-side action all the way throughout the field. As they make their way down the front stretch. And it's Chris Schaefer leading that lap in front of his teammate, Robert Lynch Jr. And you got to think at least here early, the safest place to be is up front. But like Chris mentioned, that pit stop, especially if it could come into play under green, or if a caution was to come out during green flag pit stops, you got to think that could shake things up. And that's something we've seen on asphalt, any race or any series we've seen, is the timely cautions, as there's one now, our 4th caution of the night. Looks like Roger Craig coming out of turn number 4, Bixler involved. There's Roger Craig backing in. Lacey, a rough night for him, as he's been caught up in a couple incidences not of his making. So we'll let them strategize here as we're inching closer to that halfway mark. Pit stops being made. Our leader is in. Goldner, Doyle, Lawrence will stay out. So a majority of the field will. As Doyle will stay out. We'll see if we can catch up with him. Hey Doyle, it's Travis up in the booth. Got a copy?
Yeah, I got you.
So working lap 25 here. Majority of the field comes to pit road. You stay out. What's the strategy here that you want to share with us?
Well, no real strategy. I had to pit that last caution because I got damage and had to use one of my repairs. So they fueled me up. So I think I have a little bit more fuel than they do. So it wasn't really time for me to pit. So I'm hoping we'll probably get another caution and it'll work out for me in the end here. So we'll see.
Makes sense now. So you're thinking if there's some more cautions here, you'll have enough to make it to the end?
Well, we'll probably have to pit again, but yeah, I'm hoping another caution will fall just right for me or we have to pit just before, so I don't have to pit during green flag laps and get out of sequence from everybody. So we'll see.
Gotcha. Well, we look forward to seeing how it plays out. Good run here early, Doyle. Good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
That's Doyle Lawrence. He's our current leader here at Atlanta Motor Speedway here on our latest caution, as he will line up alongside Stephen Goldner. So as mentioned, another pit stop in play here as they'll pit on lap 25. We'll get lined back up. So Schaefer will line up in the 4th spot. He was our leader prior to this caution. So the Stephen King Foundation pace car moves to the infield. Mission 22 restart about to go underway. As that Lucy Olson green flag waves, Doyle Lawrence, a good jump on that restart, will jump out front. Working lap number 27 of 60 here for this Lucy Olson Salty Dogs Racing Team NASCAR Truck Series. Goldner pushed to the lead by Chris Schaefer. As mentioned, Schaefer was our leader prior to the latest caution. And a good pusher at that, as they almost force it down. They will clear Lawrence, as it looked like Schaefer unsure of when to jump down into that inside line. He'll now jump out to the outside of Goldner, as he looks to Graham behind him to push him to the lead now. So the side-by-side action up front continues on. Working lap number 29. We're almost to the halfway mark. Great racing up front. It's still Goldner Schaefer side by side. Great racing throughout the pack is side by side there through that 11th position. I'm sorry, 12th position. Bill Richardson there. Then there's another group led by Greg Parmalee, as now that 4 of Greg Parmalee will move into that front group. As out front, they remain side by side. We're past the halfway mark here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Goldner will slide up in front slightly here. So the front still remains side by side. Donovan Ross in that 5 machine. He continues his charge forward as he started 20th. A good run for him here early. Schaefer moves down in front of Goldner. That will give that outside line lead to Graham as now he's pushed. Schaefer continues to lead. Goldner remains behind him. Looking throughout the field, our hard charger here, one of our hard chargers, that 24, that's Kyle Moonen. He's up 19 spots into 8th. Chad Cote in that 11, up 16 spots, now just outside the top 10 in 13th. Joe Canellis, some housekeeping here. Joe Canellis, he's out after 7 laps. Gary Singkow still in the pit area. Jeff Fitzgerald as well. They're running 26th and 28th respectively. As we have 25 laps to go, it's still Chris Schaefer out front. Doyle Lawrence, the 3rd in that inside line, so he stayed out. Looking at when they last pitted, Doyle Lawrence pitted on lap number 9, as did Stephen Goldner. Everyone around them pitted on lap number 24. So if a caution came out the rest of the way, it would be what they would need to make it the rest of the way. As they continue to battle, you can see the tail end of the field, a driver up ahead of them not far away. As Schaefer leads, here at Atlanta. See the Mike Kramer machine back there, that in that 3rd spot and that outside line. Do see some cars up ahead of them. Slow cars at that. The 33 will get into by the 08 of Cody Graham. Cody was in that outside line. Stephen Goldner involved. So we will try to find the instant replay of that one. As we will watch here. That's the tail end of it. As those cars came up quickly on some of the tail end of the field. Looked like Trent Verstraeten was one of them. Some pit stops being made here by our leaders. As it's Mike Kramer, Greg Parmalee will stay out. They both also pitted on lap 24. There's a better view of that incident. It looked like the 08 Cody Graham was trying to avoid the slower car, and he had the bumper of Donovan Ross right behind him. Nowhere to go there, as we will get set to go back to green here. 20 laps to go. Mike Kramer's your leader, Greg Parmalee in second, and then you have all the drivers that pitted and were up front prior to the caution, starting with Chris Schaefer, Kyle Moonen, and Doyle Lawrence. So played out just exactly as Doyle Lawrence mentioned last caution flag. He was looking for a late race caution. As we get ready to go back to green here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Another Mission 22 restart. Be less than 20 laps to go. 18 laps to go exactly. As we will get ready to go back to green. Mission 22 restart here at Atlanta. Mike Kramer, Greg Parmalee, green flag waves at 23 of Chris Schaefer all over the back of the 70 machine by the time they cross the start-finish line. Doyle Lawrence will be the third car in that inside line. And they're quickly three wide. Around goes Kyle Moonen. Greg Parmalee involved as well, and the caution flag will wave. So they went three wide going off into turn number one, and it quickly showed that that was not going to work. We will take a look at that as Kyle Moonen makes it three wide. Parmalee, Lawrence, 29 machine there. Parmalee goes up and over. And that will be our sixth caution of the night. And with that, they'll get lined back up. As there'll be Chris Schaefer out front, Doyle Lawrence in second, Robert Lynch Jr. third, Nick Schell fourth, and John Rayner Jr. up to fifth. Hey John, it's Travis in the booth. Got a copy?
Hi, Travis.
So moving up into the top five here late in this one, what's it going to take to get up there and battle for a victory?
I think I'm going to have to. I want to stay in the inside lane in case there's any incidents in front of me, so I can try to avoid them. And I got to stay close to the truck in front of me to keep that draft up and be wary of who's on my outside.
It looks like there's a lot of movement, even when you guys are side by side racing here and trying to draft. How important it is to try to stay tucked up in front of that driver in front of you, and how hard is that sometimes?
It's tough on this track, a lot harder than some of the other tracks, but because as you said, there's a lot of movement, especially as we come around the checkered flag. There's lots of movement going around that particular area there, but I'm trying my best to keep as close as I can just to keep in that draft there.
Well, it's a good run for you so far tonight, John. We look forward to seeing what you can do with it the rest of the way.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it. Have a good one.
Thanks, John. That is John Rayner of the Salty Dogs Racing Team. He's currently running in 5th. He's got his Salty Dogs Racing teammate right behind him. That 747 of Roger Craig. So a good run for that team tonight. Also the 2 highest running Canadians as of right now with 15 laps to go. So looking at the field, Doyle Lawrence will line up outside that front row. You can see the damage to his right rear. Chris Schaefer to his inside, our leader here currently, has been up front all night long. So you've got to think he will come into play here in this one. And we will get lined back up 2 by 2. The Stephen King Foundation pace car pulls on into the infield. It's Schaefer Lawrence, your front row here. Another Mission 22 restart at Atlanta. Great jump by Chris Schaefer there. He's got the 121 of Lynch behind him. He'll try to close in. That Inferno Motorsports great run here tonight continues. They're currently running 1st, 3rd, 4th, and 6th. They have a couple Salty Dogs Racing team members in there mixed in with them. As Lawrence will push Schaefer out front. There's John Rayner now moving into that 3rd spot as he will use that inside line to his advantage. He'll slide up in front of the Lynch machine. That 747 of Roger Craig behind him trying to follow him up through. He'll move into the 4th spot as that inside line is moving up quickly here early during this green flag run. So movement throughout the field there. The front 6, for the most part, single file as they make their way down the front stretch here. A dozen laps to go and the caution flag will wave again. This one looked to include Billy Richardson. Oh, and Moonen, Parmalee involved. Oh, that's our last caution here. Let's see why that one came up. This one. Pack. Nick Shell in that outside wall. 610. That's Levan also. So that good run by Inferno Motorsports loses half of them under our latest caution. As Schaefer leads, Lawrence 2nd, Rayner 3rd, Roger Craig 4th, 5th, Brad Wetzel. So they'll make their way around behind that Stephen King Foundation pace car. Be less than 10 laps to go when we go back to green. as our 7th caution of the night. That means another Mission 22 restart here. Another Lucy Olson green flag. As we will get back to green here shortly. As the light should go off that Stephen King Foundation pace car this time by. So 9 laps to go when the green flag waves again. As Chris Schaefer, Doyle Lawrence, John Rayner, Roger Craig will lead us back to green here in our Lucy Olson Salty Dogs Racing Team NASCAR Truck Series. So Mission 22 restart. We'll go back to green. Chris Schaefer will lead us back into turn number 1. Doyle Lawrence in 2nd. Rayner in 3rd. There's enough room there for Lawrence to jump down to the inside. Front 3 are nose to tail through 1 and 2. Nine laps to go. The front 4 have started to break away back in the pack. Roger Craig leads that next group as he's got Lynch behind him. Front 4 continue to race tightly as back in the pack. Caution flag will wave. Cody Graham a part of this one. We'll take a look at his 08 machine. As Parmalee will get into that outside wall, bounce off of it. The 08 involved, the 04 involved. And we are back under caution here. So we will have about 5-6 laps to go when we get back to green here. We talked to Chris Schaefer earlier. We'll see if he's available now. Hey Chris, it's Travis up in the booth. Got a copy? Hey Chris, it's Travis up in the booth. Got a copy?
I got a copy, Travis.
So we talked to you earlier. We've had a few cautions in between there. You're still running up front. What's it going to take to hold off Doyle, Brad, and John back there behind you?
A good restart and a little bit of help. I know Brad's right there, and his teammates are right there with him. So my teammates kind of got involved in some of that back there, and his hadn't yet. So he's going to have a little bit of help and have a little bit of energy. So maybe me and Doyle can team up here and finish this thing out, at least get podiums.
Is that what it's going to take? And what's the confidence level in Doyle in sticking with you when it matters here?
Well, I mean, when it comes to the last lap, it's every man for herself. But up until then, I have 100% confidence he'll be with me because he wants to be right there with a chance to win too. So coming off a 4, it's every man for herself. So if he makes a move, he just makes a move. And if I finish second or third, I just finish second or third.
Well, this should be fun here at the end. We look forward to seeing if we chat with you on the podium here at the end of this one.
Yes, sir. That's the goal, I hope.
That's Chris Schaefer. He's currently our leader here at Atlanta, but he is going to have a handful of laps trying to battle off Doyle Lawrence, Brad Wetzel, John Rayner, and Roger Craig. That's your top 5 here. As the lights go off that Stephen King Foundation pace car, that means we will have 5 laps to go when the green flag waves. So they'll get lined up side by side throughout the field. Another Mission 22 restart. Is it Schaefer, Lawrence, Wetzel, Rayner, that is how they will line up here. A handful of laps to go here in our Lucy Olson Salty Dogs Racing Team NASCAR Truck Series event. Green flag will wave. A Mission 22 restart. Chris Schaefer will shoot out as he has all night long. Brad Wetzel will get to the inside of Doyle Lawrence by the time they enter turn number 1. John Rayner goes to the outside with Doyle. Chris Schaefer leads as we're green through 1 and 2, and our 9th caution flag will wave. This one for Billy Richardson. We'll take a look at this latest caution. Is cut down just a little too slow there on that Kyle Moonen machine. And that is our 9th caution of the night. With that, we will have our first green-white checkered attempt. So our first green-white checkered attempt here. For our NASCAR trucks presented by Lucy Olson and the Salty Dogs. So as always, thanks for tuning in to our Topside Tuesday presented by Cool Ray. Great night of racing action. We had our Cool Ray Pro Late models from Charlotte, followed up by this Lucy Olson Salty Dogs Racing Team NASCAR Truck Series. We will have our 9th Mission 22 restart of the night. As the lights should go off that Stephen King Foundation pace car this next time by. As it'll be Chris Schaefer, Doyle Lawrence, Brad Wetzel, John Rayner Jr. leading us back to grade. Those 4 have been up there the last few cautions. Reminder, Flatline Racing Bodies Wednesday night Hometown Heroes will be on Coast to Coast Racing Network tomorrow night. Make sure you tune in for that. Coverage will begin just before 7 p.m. with the fixed 305s from Knoxville. Of course, Thursday night Gambler Motorsports Thursday night Thunder. We'll have small block, big blocks, and that NASCAR Xfinity race. So side by side throughout the field, we'll go back to green. Another Mission 22 restart. Our first green-white checkered attempt of the night. Chris Schaefer, Doyle Lawrence, that front row. Green flag waves. We're back to racing action from Atlanta. Schaefer, great restart there. That opens the door for Brad Wetzel to the inside. Just like last time, Rayner will go with Doyle Lawrence through 1 and 2. Up in that outside line. As Brad will clear them on the inside for a moment as Doyle Lawrence fights back down the backstretch. They'll enter turn number 3. Lawrence and Schaefer now side by side for the lead. Brad Wetzel pushing that 23 machine. Rayner unable to get to that tail of Doyle Lawrence. He'll make a move. White flag waves. 3 wide for second going into turn number 1. It's Chris Schaefer out front. That 121 a Lynch now as they'll go around behind him. That's Roger Craig involved. White flag is out, so they will race to the finish. Chris Schaefer out front of Brad Wetzel. Doyle Lawrence on that outside line. John Rayner back there as well as Stephen Goldner makes a move at the line. It's going to be Chris Schaefer, Brad Wetzel, Doyle Lawrence, your top 3. Around goes the 121. Kyle Moonen in the wall as well. Chris Schaefer will hold on for the win. An exciting finish for sure. Schaefer, Wetzel, Lawrence, Lynch, and Grace will round out your top 5. So a great finish there to our first Lucy Olson Salty Dogs NASCAR Truck Series event here tonight. We, of course, will talk to those top 3 finishing drivers. As we'll bring up that finishing results. You can see back there Craig Levan, Roger Craig, Chad Cote, some drivers that had raced up front throughout the night. Maybe not the finish they expected or deserved. As it's Chris Schaefer celebrating there at the start-finish line at Atlanta Motor Speedway. As we will wait for those top three finishers. And it looks like we've got Doyle Lawrence, our third place finisher, joining us. Doyle, you had a chance there at the end. Kind of walk us through those last 3 laps there.
Yeah, that was tough with the cautions keep coming out and you try to get into a rhythm and then that rhythm gets broken. So then you have to get back into it. But I tried to stay behind Chris the whole time, but that last restart, Brad was underneath me and I couldn't get back there. And so I just tried to stay behind him and side draft up to the front, but I didn't really get a lot of help from behind me. So it was hard to gain any spots there. So I just tried to stay right where I was so I wouldn't lose a podium finish.
It looked like that outside line that you were in there at the end, those last few runs there, was having a harder time just staying tight up on each other. Could you feel that as you were trying to move forward, just not the help behind you?
Oh yeah. With this draft model, you really have to come down on the inside close, not really door dinger, but you got to get them close enough to get the side draft off of them. And if you don't have help behind you, you're really not gaining anything. You really have to have help behind you to push, but they've got a side draft close with you. So to make a gain, you got to work as a pair. And if you don't have a teammate out there, you're kind of stuck.
Well, we talked to you early, and it looked like the way it played out, you at least had a chance there at the end. A great finish to start this spring season. Any sponsors you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, I want to shout out to eNASCAR College Series coming on board for this one. You for the broadcast and Roger for the league. It's been fun, and I'm looking forward to next week if I'm off work.
Well, great run, Doyle. We look forward to talking to you again soon. That's our third place finisher, Doyle Lawrence. Now joining us, our second place finisher, Brad Wetzel. Brad, some cautions there at the end. You had a chance at it. What was the difference between coming home second and bringing it home with a win?
Yeah, I think Chris just was in the right place. He pitted on a pretty good schedule that put him up front in position. And when the cautions kind of unfolded, he was in the right spot. He was in the catbird seat, and the way the outside lane kind of worked, it was tough to have a green white checkered run at it.
We saw through some of those restarts when you were lining up in that second row, you were able to get in front, clear that third place car. What was it going to take to be able to get pushed or have a chance to make a move on Chris?
Yeah, I mean I didn't clear myself of Doyle. It seemed like he kind of hung out there, so I wasn't going to push the limit. It seems like I tend to get tangled up in a lot of accidents, so I was very happy with second place. I'll take it and walk away from Atlanta in a quote unquote super speedway race any day.
Well, it was a great run. It was fun watching you make your way up through the field there. Any sponsors you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, I gotta thank the guys at Bandybuilt. Everyone there is always fun hanging out. I gotta thank all the guys that come out. Roger for the league, coast to coast. You for being up in the booth. It's always fun to watch broadcasts later. And thanks to everyone.
Well, great run, Brad. It was fun, and we look forward to talking to you more throughout this spring season. That's your second place finisher, Brad Wetzel, in that number 43 truck. Now joining us from Cool Ray Victory Lane, it's going to be Chris Schaefer. So, Chris, we talked to you a couple times throughout that race. those cautions there at the end, is that what you wanted or what you needed? And kind of walk us through that last green right checkered.
To be honest, man, I really didn't mind the cautions because I knew it took laps away from people to gain spots for Brad's teammates to get there to help him out. So I didn't mind the cautions, but I also knew that the aggression was going to be that much more if I couldn't get away and maintain both lines.
Those green flag runs there at the end, could you sense that outside line? From our vantage point, it didn't look like they were able to assemble as tight as that inside line. Was that something you were able to pick up on in the truck?
Yeah, I mean you can tell where the energy's at in the truck. There for a minute, Doyle did have a little bit of a run to the outside, especially coming to the checkered flag. He had a little bit of a run, and that's what I was just telling him a minute ago. Is like I felt like the only chance I had to just make sure I had the win was to cut that apron, so that way, Brad couldn't cut underneath me to get a run, and it kind of took them from side drafting me too.
So there at the end, you had Brad behind you. We talked about it beforehand on what you needed to be pushed to the win there. When you're coming to that checkered flag, you kind of talked about your only move that you had. Is it kind of just say, hey, I'm committed to this opportunity, and however it shakes out, that's how it's going to be?
When it comes down to the end of races like that, yeah, that's pretty much what you got to do. And if somebody gets a better run or, restrictor plate racing, it always happens. There's a wreck, because it's an aggressive style of racing. It's a lot of fun, but, it's like a chess game at high speed, and you have to make the right move at the right time. And sometimes you get checkmated.
Well, you made the right move tonight, Chris. It was fun watching you up front. Any sponsors you want to give a shout out to from Coolray Victory Lane?
Yeah, man. I want to thank you guys for putting on the broadcast, Roger, and everybody behind the scenes at Coast to Coast that puts the league on. It can be a thankless job at sometimes. I want to thank my guys at Infernal Motorsports. We picked up Robert this year or for this season, and Craig and Nick they're on my dirt team that's come over and running asphalt with me. Highline Photography on the car, AJ Custom Creations, Andy Patton's job. He does the trophies for Coast to Coast, and Getting Hooked, longtime sponsor of mine. So if you ever come to Florida, want to go out inshore fishing, look them up. And Robert Evertson at CTFS Graphics for the paint that he just did for this season.
Well, great run tonight, Chris. It was fun watching you pull into Victory Lane, and we look forward to talking to you more this spring season.
Yes, sir. I hope so. That was a little bit of redemption for the way I ended last season. I hammered just about a 200-point lead and lost it to Sean, so I needed to start off good this season.
Well, a good start indeed. That is your winner here tonight from Atlanta. It's Chris Schaefer, 23 truck, your winner here tonight for the Lucy Olson Salty Dogs Racing Team NASCAR Truck Series. So week number 1 for Topside Tuesday, presented by Coolray, is in the books. We'll be back tomorrow night here on the Coast to Coast Racing League Network for our Flatline Racing Bodies Wednesday night Hometown Heroes. Coverage begins around 7 p.m. Make sure you tune in for that. Want to give a shout out to Dylan Perry for joining us for that Coolray Pro Late Model Series event earlier tonight. Big thank you to him. Thank you for tuning in here tonight as our evening for Topside Tuesday will come to an end. We appreciate you tuning in and watching all night long, and we look forward to a fun spring 2023 season. You've been watching the Coast to Coast Racing League Network.
This copyrighted broadcast of Extreme eSpeed TV Network is intended solely for the entertainment of our audience. Any retransmitted, reproduced, rebroadcast, or otherwise distributed or used in any form without express written consent of the Extreme eSpeed TV Network is strictly prohibited. We hope you've enjoyed this broadcast.